Once upon a time in the heart of Morocco, there was a little gray donkey named Zaki. Zaki lived in the ancient city of S, a place filled with the sights, sounds, and smells of 1,001 stories. But Zaki's story was a quiet one. His home was near the iconic Bab Jeloud, also known as the Blue Gate. It was the main entrance to the Medina, the old part of the city, and it buzzed with activity, especially on market days. Merchants called out to customers. Artisans hammered on their wares, and the sweet aroma of spices filled the air. Through the archway of Bab Jeloud, you could hear the clip-clop of Zaki's little hooves on the cobblestones as he carried his small loads through the crowded alleys. But Zaki never made a sound. He was the quietest donkey in all of Morocco all day long. Zaki plodded along, his little tail swishing behind him, his ears perked up with interest. He saw the merchants ranging their colorful wares, the artisans weaving intricate patterns, and the children chasing each other through the maze-like streets. All the other donkeys round and brayed loudly, their voices echoing through the ancient walls. They greeted each other with loud, friendly greetings, but Zaki remained silent. He longed to join in, to tell them about the juicy carrots he'd seen earlier or the sweet dates he hoped to eat later. But no sound would ever come out. Zaki thought sadly, why can't I sing like the others? I have so much I want to say. One day as Zaki ambled past Bab Jeloud, his ears twitched. He stopped and listened. Near the gate, a group of musicians had set up their instruments. They were playing lively Moroccan music, and the melody floated through the air like sweet perfume. Zaki stood transfixed, swaying gently to the rhythm. He wanted to join them, to tell them how beautiful their song was. But he couldn't. He just stood there with his head hung low, watching the musicians play. As the music faded, Zaki turned and continued on his way. He couldn't stop thinking about the song. He wished he could make music like that. Music that could touch people's hearts and make them dance. A little further on, Zaki heard the sound of clapping and laughter. He peeked round a corner and saw a group of children gathered near a storyteller. The old man was spinning a tale, his voice booming with excitement. The children were hanging on his every word. Zaki stood mesmerized, listening to the story. He loved stories. He wished he could tell them, too. But how could he do it without a voice? The storyteller finished his tale, and the children thanked him with a shower of applause. As they ran off to tell others the wonderful story they had just heard, a little girl lagged behind. Her name was Aisha, and she often came to listen to the storyteller. She had a kind heart and a curious mind. One day, Aisha and her family were strolling near Bab Jeloud when she noticed the gray donkey. She saw how patiently he waited, how gently he took treats from the people around him, and how sadly he watched the world go by. Aisha felt a pang of sympathy for the little donkey. She wanted to cheer him up. She approached Zaki slowly. He looked up at her with his big brown eyes, his head tilted in curiosity. Aisha took a deep breath and asked in a soft voice, "Hello, little donkey. You seem a bit lonely. Do you want some company?" Zaki looked at Aisha, then he lowered his head to sniff her outstretched hand. He didn't know why, but he liked this little girl. He nudged her hand with his nose and let out a tiny squeak. Aisha giggled. "Did you just sing?" It was a very small song, she said, and she gave him a piece of fresh mint. Zaki took the mint in his mouth and chewed slowly. It smelled so fresh and sweet. He looked up at Aisha, and he wanted to tell her how much he liked the mint, how much he liked her company. But all he could do was look at her with his big brown eyes. From that day on, Aisha made a point to visit Zaki whenever she was near Bab Jeloud. She brought him little treats, a piece of carrot, a sweet date, anything she thought he might like. And she would quietly hum little tunes to him. Zaki would listen, his heart warming with each visit. He didn't know what the songs meant, but he loved the sound of her voice. One day, as Aisha was humming a cheerful tune, Zaki felt something bubbling inside him. He took a deep breath and, to his own surprise, let out a small, hesitant hee-haw. It wasn't as loud or as booming as the other donkeys, but it was his song. "You sang, Zaki. You finally sang." Aisha clapped her hands. Zaki looked at Aisha, then he took another breath and sang again, a little louder this time. Hee-haw! He felt so happy, so light inside. From that day on, Zaki was no longer the silent donkey of Bab Jeloud. He still wasn't the loudest donkey, but he had found his voice. All thanks to the kindness of a little girl who listened with her heart. And every time Zaki sang, he remembered the little girl who believed in him and helped him find his song. Because sometimes, just like Zaki, we need someone to believe in us before we can believe in ourselves. The end.